Welcome to Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up, where we break down the most urgent intelligence and national security stories shaping the world. With over 25 years of experience in intelligence and law enforcement, Neil Bisson, the director of the Global Intelligence Knowledge Network and a retired intelligence officer with the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, delivers expert analysis beyond the headlines. This week, tensions flare between Paraguay and Brazil as a diplomatic dispute over espionage allegations threatens regional stability. What's behind the accusations, and how might this impact South American intelligence operations? Meanwhile, China has arrested 3 Filipinos on espionage charges, raising fresh concerns about Beijing's tightening grip on counterintelligence. Is this part of a broader crackdown, or a warning to foreign intelligence services operating in the region? And in Washington, a shakeup has the U.S. National Security Council intelligence insiders buzzing. What does this restructuring mean for America's global security posture? Plus, trade tariffs are making headlines, but behind the scenes, intelligence agencies are watching closely. How do economic pressures intersect with espionage and national security threats? Stay tuned as Neil unpacks these critical developments. Now, let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Neil Bisson. As a retired intelligence officer with the Canadian Security Intelligence Service and the director of the Global Intelligence Knowledge Network, I'm committed to providing intelligence insights on the latest breaking news and stories in national security, espionage, terrorism, and foreign interference. This week's headlines have been filled with tariff news out of the United States, but national security intelligence never takes a break. So let's get started with this week's Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. For our first story, we're diving into a significant development out of South America. Paraguay's decision to recall its ambassador to Brazil and suspend negotiations over the Itapu Dam. This move comes in response to revelations of espionage activities by Brazil's intelligence agency. For the story, we'll be exploring the recent diplomatic tensions between Paraguay and Brazil. Specifically, we'll discuss the implications of Brazil's alleged espionage on Paraguayan officials and how this has affected negotiations over the Itapu Dam. Recent reports have surfaced indicating that during former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro's administration, Brazil's intelligence agency conducted surveillance operations targeting Paraguayan officials. These operations allegedly involved infiltrating Paraguayan computer systems to gather sensitive information related to tariff negotiations concerning the Itapu Dam, a massive hydroelectric project jointly operated by both nations. From an intelligence standpoint, these actions demonstrate a significant breach of trust and international norms. Espionage between allied nations can lead to severe diplomatic fallout, undermining years of cooperation and mutual agreements. The Itapu Dam, being a critical infrastructure project, holds substantial economic and strategic importance for both countries. Any clandestine activities surrounding its operations or negotiations can exacerbate existing tensions and hinder collaborative efforts. To understand the gravity of this situation, it's essential to consider the historical context. The Itapu Dam has been a point of contention since its inception. Many Paraguayans view the original treaty, which mandates that Paraguay cede unused energy to Brazil rather than selling it to other countries, as a compromise to their national sovereignty. Furthermore, the history of Paraguay-Brazil relations is marked with significant events, such as the War of the Triple Alliance in the 1860s, where Paraguay faced invasion by Brazil and its allies, leading to substantial territorial and human losses for Paraguay. These historical grievances continue to influence the diplomatic dynamics between the two nations. Paraguayan Foreign Minister Ruben Ramirez Lezcano has labeled the espionage as a violation of international law and interference in Paraguay's internal affairs. He emphasized the need for Paraguay to take all necessary steps to define its confidential information. From my professional perspective, such incidences underscore the delicate nature of international intelligence operations. While nations often engage in intelligence gathering to safeguard their interests, targeting allied countries, especially over sensitive economic negotiations, can lead to unintended and detrimental consequences. The revelation of Brazil's espionage activities has strained its relationship with Paraguay, leading to the recall of ambassadors and suspension of critical negotiations over the Itapu Dam. This incident highlights the fragile nature of international alliances and the profound impact intelligence operations can have on diplomatic relations. Moving forward, it's crucial for nations to establish clear boundaries and communication channels to prevent such breaches and maintain mutual trust. We head to China for our next story, where we're examining a recent development that has heightened tensions between China and the Philippines: the arrest of 3 Filipino nationals by Chinese authorities on charges of espionage. China has recently detained 3 Filipino citizens, accusing them of spying. Let's look at the details of the allegations, the context of the China-Philippines relations, and the broader implications for regional security. According to reports from China's state-run Xinhua News Agency, the 3 Filipinos were apprehended for allegedly passing sensitive information to a contact in the Philippines. The Chinese authorities claim that the suspects have confessed to these charges, although investigations are still ongoing. From an intelligence perspective, such arrests are significant as they underscore the complex and often clandestine nature of international relations in the Asia-Pacific region. Espionage activities, whether perceived or real, can severely strain diplomatic ties and can lead to retaliatory measures, further escalating tensions between nations. This incident occurs against a backdrop of already deteriorating relations between China and the Philippines. Recently, Filipino authorities detained several Chinese nationals suspected of espionage within the Philippines. Some of the regular listeners of the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up will remember that Alice Guo, a Chinese agent, became a mayor of a town in the Philippines, where she then fled after it was discovered that she was secretly working for the Chinese Communist Party. As a result, China's influence and foreign interference operations against the Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has been actively strengthening military and diplomatic ties with the United States, China's main strategic competitor. This includes the proposed $5.58 billion arms deal involving fighter jets and missiles, which has been viewed unfavorably by Beijing. Territorial disputes in the South China Sea further complicate the situation, with both nations asserting claims over strategic areas. Additionally, the Philippines' support for Taiwan has drawn criticism from China, adding another layer of complexity to their bilateral relations. While official statements from both governments are limited, the Chinese foreign minister has urged the Philippines to refrain from making provocative remarks, emphasizing the potential consequences of escalating tensions. Drawing from my experience as an intelligence professional, such incidents highlight the delicate balance nations must maintain between safeguarding national security and fostering international cooperation. China has a tendency of unfounded retaliation against foreign states that they perceive as threatening them. This was the case with the arrest in detention of 2 Canadian citizens when Huawei CEO Meng Wanzhou was detained in Vancouver. Accusations of espionage can serve both as general security concerns and as a strategic tool in geopolitical maneuvering. The arrest of 3 Filipinos in China on espionage charges reflects the intricate and often precarious nature of international relations in the region. This development is likely to further strain relations between China and the Philippines and could have broader implications for regional stability. As the situation unfolds, it will be crucial to monitor how both nations navigate these challenges and what measures are taken to prevent further escalation. We head to the United States for our next story, where we're examining a significant shakeup within the U.S. National Security Council, or the NSC, where President Donald Trump has dismissed several officials deemed insufficiently loyal to the Make America Great Again agenda. We'll discuss the recent firings of senior NSC officials by Donald Trump. We'll explore the circumstances leading up to these dismissals, the involvement of far-right activist Laura Loomer, and the broader implications for U.S. national security operations. President Trump has moved to fire several senior NSC officials following a meeting with far-right activist Laura Loomer. Loomer, known for promoting conspiracy theories, presented her concerns directly to the president, asserting that certain staff members were not sufficiently loyal to his agenda. This meeting included Vice President J.D. Vance, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Sergio Gore, the Director of the Presidential Personnel Office. Subsequently, at least 3 senior NSC officials, Brian Walsh, Thomas Boudry, and David Feith, along with multiple aides, were dismissed. These individuals were reportedly aligned with Waltz, who is currently under scrutiny for use of the unsecure Signal app to discuss sensitive military operations. The incident, dubbed Signalgate, involved the accidental inclusion of a journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg, and a private chat discussing U.S. military plans, leading to significant controversy. For those who are interested, last week, Phil Gursky and I dove deeper into the lapse of operational security, or OPSEC, surrounding Signalgate on the podcast Spies Like Us. I'll leave a link in the show notes. From an intelligence perspective, these developments raise concerns about the stability and integrity of national security operations. The dismissal of experienced personnel can disrupt the continuity of critical functions and may hinder the effective execution of foreign policy. The NSC has experienced significant turnover during President Trump's administration, often linked to loyalty assessments and ideological alignments. This demonstrates a concern on the part of the Trump administration that anyone who doesn't share in their total allegiance mentality is a potential threat. The recent findings coincide with internal disagreements over staffing choices, particularly between Waltz and Gore, reflecting broader tensions within the administration regarding the direction of national security policies. Additionally, the use of non-secure communication platforms like Signal for discussing classified information has prompted a review by the Pentagon's Acting Inspector General. This review aims to assess potential violations of policies governing the transmission of classified information in compliance with federal records retention laws. Senator Mike Rounds has expressed concerns about the impact of these dismissals on experienced intelligence personnel, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a robust and knowledgeable national security team. Drawing from my experience in intelligence, such abrupt personnel changes, especially when influenced by external activists, can undermine the effectiveness of national security operations. It is a move seen more in totalitarian regimes than in democracies. Ensuring that staffing decisions are based on merit, ability, and expertise, rather than perceived loyalty, is crucial for maintaining the integrity of intelligence functions. The recent findings within the NSC highlight the complex interplay between political loyalty and effective governance. These developments underscore the need for a balanced approach that prioritizes both the president's agenda and the operational effectiveness of national security institutions. As this situation unfolds, it will be essential to monitor the implications for U.S. foreign policy and national security operations. Sticking with U.S. intelligence, in our next story, we're examining a significant development within the U.S. intelligence community. The Central Intelligence Agency's decision to withdraw Ralph Goff, a seasoned veteran, from consideration for the role of Deputy Director of Operations, a position overseeing clandestine activities and human intelligence gathering. We'll discuss the CIA's recent decision to remove Ralph Goff from consideration as its Chief of Clandestine Operations. We'll look at Goff's extensive career, the potential reasons behind the unexpected move, and the broader implications for U.S. intelligence operations and foreign policy. Ralph Goff, a six-time station chief with 35 years tenure at the CIA, was reportedly set to assume the role of Deputy Director of Operations later this month. However, the agency unexpectedly withdrew his appointment without providing public explanation. This decision has raised questions, especially given Goff's distinguished career and the internal support he garnered within the agency. Speculation suggests that Goff's vocal support of Ukraine may have influenced this development. Since retiring in 2023, he has actively advocated for Ukraine, traveling to the country and engaging with local officials. This stance appears to contrast with the current administration's efforts to encourage peace talks between Kiev and Moscow, potentially leading to concerns about alignment with official U.S. foreign policy objectives. From an intelligence perspective, such personnel decisions are critical. The Deputy Director of Operations plays a pivotal role in shaping and executing clandestine missions. Any shifts in this position can signal changes in operational priorities or strategic alignments impacting both domestic and international intelligence activities. The backdrop of this situation includes the complex dynamics of U.S.-Ukraine relations in the broader geopolitical landscape. While the U.S. has historically supported Ukraine, recent administrative approaches have emphasized de-escalation and negotiations with Russia. Goff's public advocacy for Ukraine, including multiple visits and meetings with Ukraine officials, have been perceived as divergent from the administration's current diplomatic strategies. Internally, the CIA has experienced shifts in leadership and direction, reflecting the evolving priorities in successive administrations. The withdrawal of Goff's appointment indicates an effort to ensure that key positions are occupied by individuals whose views and approaches are closely aligned with the prevailing policy directions. James Lawler, a retired CIA operations officer, described Goff as a patriot, an outstanding case officer, and a staunch supporter of the Ukrainian people. Lawler's remarks highlight the respect Goff commands within the intelligence community and underscores the surprise elicited by the agency's decision. Drawing from my own intelligence experience, such decisions often reflect a delicate balance between individual expertise and alignment with broader policy objectives. Ensuring that leadership positions within intelligence agencies are filled by individuals whose perspectives and strategies are in harmony with the current administration goals is crucial for cohesive and effective operations. However, decisions based on political considerations as opposed to operational expertise of the individual slated for the position is detrimental to the organization and its objectives. Clandestine operations are critical to the success of any foreign human intelligence organization, and the dismissal of Goff is a loss to the CIA. The CIA's withdrawal of Ralph Goff from consideration for the role of Deputy Director for Operations underscores the interplay between individual agency careers and overreaching foreign policy strategies. This development may signal a recalibration of priorities within the agencies, particularly concerning U.S. engagement with Ukraine and Russia. As the intelligence community continues to navigate these complex geopolitical terrains, the selection of its leaders will remain a critical factor in shaping the effectiveness and direction of its operations. We're in Canada for our next story, where we're examining a landmark legal case involving Patrick Gordon MacDonald, an Ottawa resident recently convicted on charges relating to neo-Nazi propaganda and terrorism. We'll discuss the conviction of Patrick Gordon MacDonald, who has been found guilty of participating in terrorist activities and promoting hatred. We'll also explore the specifics of the case, the evidence presented, and the broader implications for national security and counterterrorism efforts in Canada. Patrick Gordon MacDonald, known online by the alias Dark Foreigner, was convicted on charges including participating in activity of a terrorist group, facilitating terrorist activity, and willful promotion of hatred. The court found that MacDonald produced and disseminated propaganda materials for the Atomwaffen Division, a neo-Nazi organization recognized as a terrorist entity in Canada. MacDonald's activities involved creating videos and imagery designed to recruit members and promote the extremist ideology of Atomwaffen Division. These materials were characterized by their racist and hate-filled content, advocating violence against minority groups. From an intelligence perspective, this case underscores the persistent threat posed by domestic extremist groups and the role of online propaganda in their operations. Utilization of digital platforms to spread extremist ideologies and recruit members highlights the evolving landscape of national security threats. The Atomwaffen Division has been linked to various violent acts and plots, leading to its designation as a terrorist organization by multiple countries, including Canada. MacDonald's involvement in this group dates back several years, during which he contributed significantly to their propaganda efforts. This conviction marks a significant moment in Canada's legal approach to handling domestic terrorism, as it represents one of the first instances where an individual has been charged and convicted under both terrorism and hate propaganda statutes simultaneously. Legal experts have noted the importance of this case in setting a precedent for prosecuting individuals involved in the creation and dissemination of extremist propaganda. Legal experts have noted the importance of this case in setting a precedent for prosecuting individuals involved in the creation and dissemination of extremist propaganda. The successful conviction demonstrates the judiciary's recognition of the tangible threats posed by such activities and the necessity of addressing them within the framework of existing anti-terrorism laws. Unfortunately, the far-right neo-Nazi groups are gaining momentum, both in Canada and internationally. These militant hate groups can be dangerous and sometimes are better organized than many intelligence and law enforcement entities are willing to give them credit for. Multi-ethnic countries with large populations of first, second, and third-generation immigrant citizens are just some of the targets of these groups, who often blame their own inability to prosper in society on foreign labor and immigration policies. Many European countries are seeing political parties that lean farther and farther towards the right, which is helping to embolden this type of ideology, making it more difficult for intelligence and law enforcement to focus the needed attention against this domestic extremism and terrorist action. The conviction of individuals like MacDonald's is crucial in disrupting the operational capabilities of extremist groups. By targeting the propagandists who amplify and spread hate ideologies, law enforcement agencies can impede the recruitment and radicalization processes that are vital to these organizations. The conviction of Patrick Gordon MacDonald highlights the critical intersection of online propaganda and domestic terrorism. This case exemplifies the challenges faced by national security agencies in addressing the digital dimensions of extremist activities. Moving forward, it is imperative for intelligence and law enforcement agencies to continue monitoring and countering the online dissemination of extremist content to safeguard national security. For this week's last story, we're looking at a counterterrorism operation in the UK where 2 men were arrested in London over alleged ties to Hezbollah, a group designated as a terrorist organization under UK law. This case raises questions about Hezbollah's global network and its potential influence in Western countries. Metropolitan Police Counterterrorism Command arrested a 39-year-old man in northwest London and a 35-year-old man in West London on suspicion of being members of a proscribed organization. Authorities also suspect the 39-year-old of preparing for acts of terrorism and involvement in terrorism financing. Searches were conducted at 5 locations, but officials stated that there was no imminent threat to the public. These arrests reflected ongoing concerns about Hezbollah's reach beyond the Middle East. While the group is primarily known for its conflict in Israel, it has long maintained networks across Europe, engaging in activities ranging from fundraising to logistical support. Hezbollah, founded in the 1980s with Iranian backing, has been involved in numerous conflicts and attacks. The UK designated the group as a terrorist organization in 2019, making any affiliation with it a criminal offense. Western intelligence agencies have long tracked Hezbollah-linked cells operating outside Lebanon, particularly in Europe and South America, where the group is believed to engage in fundraising, recruitment, and logistical support for its operations. This isn't the first time Hezbollah has been linked to activities in the UK. In 2015, a covert Hezbollah-linked stockpile of explosive was discovered in London, leading to increased scrutiny of the group's presence. Commander Dominic Murphy of the Met's Counter-Terrorism Command emphasized that terrorist activities abroad can have direct consequences on security within the UK. His statement underscores the interconnected nature of modern terrorism, which happens in Lebanon or Iran, that can have ripple effects in London, Paris, or Toronto. From an intelligence analysis perspective, this case highlights the continued challenge of monitoring foreign terrorism organizations' influence on Western soil. The involvement of terrorism financing suggests a broader network that authorities will likely investigate further. The arrest of these two men in London highlight the persistent global reach of Hezbollah and the efforts by Western intelligence organizations to counter its activities. While authorities have stated that there is no imminent threat to the public, this case serves as a reminder that terrorist organizations continue to operate beyond their traditional conflict zones. With the ongoing conflict in Israel and the need of terrorist groups like Hezbollah to replenish their funding and their personnel, we will continue to see activities like this happen in Europe, North, and South America. Well, that's it for this week. As always, the links to the news articles discussed are available in the transcript of the podcast. I want to send a shout out to the participants of my first online course at the University of Ottawa. The course, entitled The Psychology Behind Human Sources and Intelligence Collection, focuses on the motivations of sources that are identified and sometimes manipulated by intelligence organizations. There will be another course available in May, and I will leave a link in the show notes for those who want to sign up. As always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe. See you next week.
That's a wrap for this week's Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. From Paraguay and Brazil's diplomatic standoff over espionage, to China's latest spy arrest, and a shakeup within the U.S. National Security Council, today's stories reveal the shifting landscape of global intelligence. Bringing you these expert insights takes deep research, experience, and a commitment to uncovering the intelligence stories that matter. If you found this episode valuable, consider liking, sharing, or leaving a comment. Your engagement helps bring these critical discussions to a wider audience. And if you'd like to support the show and help us keep delivering expert analysis, you can do so through Patreon or Buzzsprout. Whether it's a one-time contribution or ongoing support, every bit helps. You'll find the links in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in. And as Neil always says, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe. See you next week.